Okay, hello everybody. This is my first YouTube video. Originally, I wanted this to be a response to Fire Nation Death Wish, or as he calls himself in some of his videos, Harry. But I thought I would combine this with another topic. Okay, so I'm not good at introductions, so I'm going to skip that and I'm going to jump right into what I want to say. So first, what I wanted to say to Harry is that I know this is really late and posted the video months ago, but I wanted to say that I kind of agree with what you had to say about Tibet. As you said, I think there are lots of Marxists, Trotskyists, socialists, etc., who are for free Tibet, and looking around on some internet forums and such, it's pretty obvious what their political orientation is, because they refer to this as a class struggle or a fight for the proletariat or something like that. And they even cite the fact that the Dalai Lama is Marxist. But I think there's two reasons for that, and the first is that they're not white, and the second is that Tibet was Buddhist. And I know it might sound a little crass and maybe even a little racist, but you don't see hippies protesting for the Armenian genocide because Armenian people are white Christians. You don't see them. You'll see them talk about Han immigration into Tibet. Well, it's not really immigration; it's more of migration because it's the same country. But they would not ever be caught dead saying something about the millions of illegal Mexicans in this country, because they don't want to be labeled racist. And, that the Buddhism part, it's because they see Buddhism as a way out of Christianity. They want Buddhism to replace monotheistic religions such as Christianity and Islam, which they see as intolerant. They see that Buddhism, or their interpretation of Buddhism, is a religion that lets them do anything they want, and that's an incorrect interpretation. But that's the one that they're taking, and that's why they are so in love with Buddhism. So enough about Tibet. I think that issue will have to be resolved sometime later, but you also made a video about the Olympics. And while I saw the Olympics on TV, I saw both the opening and closing ceremonies, and I think they went pretty well, I must admit that. It was a beautiful ceremony. The only bad part, I must say, was the London 2012 handover part, which looked like a bunch of people, it looked like a big mess, and I'm going to leave it at that. Well, so the boycott wasn't successful at all, but it was very interesting to compare the media coverage between here and, my country. My parents are from there, Taiwan. In case you're wondering, I'm Taiwanese of Chinese descent, but I was born in the United States, and to prove that I have my passport here. So, anyways, the comparison was quite obvious. The differences were quite obvious. It seemed that the U.S. was a little bit more negative generally, focusing on these fake fireworks, the girl who lip-synced, and so on. And in Taiwan, well, they were mentioned, but when it was mentioned, that was the end of it. They said it happened, and there was about one paragraph article in the paper, and then nobody ever talked about it ever since. Personally, I wonder how different the Olympics coverage would be if it was, say, in South Africa. There are human rights problems in South Africa. I'm aware that there are many white people in South Africa who are treated bad by the government there, and we never hear about that in the media. So I was wondering what would happen if South Africa did some of these things. I think that the media would be a lot more quiet about it, because the media is very liberal, and they want to maintain politically correct face to them. And personally, I also think that these issues, the lip syncing and the fireworks broadcast, I think they are small issues compared to the larger human rights questions in China. Is the decision of a bureaucrat in in some office to tell a girl to lip sync, really that big of an issue compared to, say, well, the jailing of people that want reform in their country. I think that the people that want reform in their country should have more attention. And so I would say that the big emphasis put on this was more to humiliate China, and was not really a concern for human rights. Okay, to my next point, the Paralympic Games just opened. So, as we know, the Paralympics are given in the same spirit as the Olympics. So, if the protesters were so upset about China violating the Olympic spirit, where are these protesters now that should be so upset about China violating the Paralympic spirit? And still, aren't the problems that the boycotters talked about still existing, or do they somehow magically disappear during the Paralympics? This, again, I think they're being political correct. I mean, even though they didn't have a problem attacking a woman in a wheelchair in Paris, now it's suddenly all about the athletes. You see these leftist boycotters, they're frightened that they'll say something insensitive to the disabled athletes. Oh no, they have no problem with ruining able-bodied athletes' careers, but they're so frightened that they'll somehow say something offensive, or that someone will take something the wrong way. It's as if they're saying that someone can't hold their own against a bunch of political clowns trying to make a statement just because they're disabled. And that, I think, is ridiculous. And knowing a veteran who was injured and lost his foot in Iraq, and who today plays basketball and runs and is still a very tough guy, I would personally be offended by that, in fact. So, this is a message to those who boycotted the Olympics. If you want to be consistent, and if you really care about the Olympic spirit and what you say you do, well, you better start boycotting the Paralympics as well and start protesting. Okay, so that's all I have to say for now. Thank you, and goodbye.